Hello, today is Tuesday, January 8th, 2019. This is a gentleman of leisure. Here I am in New York Harbor. The sky is starting to clear a little bit, but can you see the Empire State Building peeking through and the rail yards up there? Today is the first trip to Manhattan this year, and for me. And I am a gentleman of leisure, 10 years this year. So I thought, what more perfect opportunity to talk about what is a gentleman of leisure and what do I do with my life? Well, you're looking at it. Can you see the Whitney Museum? I believe that might be it right there, possibly. We're founding members of the Whitney that started in 2015. And that's our home away from home, although it is Tuesday, so it's closed today. But when I retired and let go of my 45-year global career, professional academic career that took me all around the world, I was really worried. I thought, what am I going to do with my life? I never liked leisure time. I never liked weekends, vacations, holidays. I'm not a tourist. I do not like entertainment per se. I was obsessed with my architectural career from about age 3, I would say. So what am I going to do when it's all over? The light switch off, gone, goodbye. I was 62 just about, and now I'm just about 72. What am I going to do? I'll drive myself crazy, and maybe I have. Many people think I already have. But I'm trying not to digress. So in 2009, I pulled the plug. It just felt it was time. I woke up one morning and I loved what I did. I was at the pinnacle of my career in the state capital of Harrisburg. I loved what I did. I loved the people I worked with, mostly. And it was the zenith of my career. There was nothing like it in the United States for a licensed architect. It was fantastic. And my office was in Harrisburg. So I got to work with all the architects and so on. But I talked about my wonderful career in about 6 videos you'll see on this channel. So I won't get into that in detail. But I loved what I did, and it was in my hometown. And I was even debating, should I retire back to my main home and my hometown of choice, my chosen hometown, Easton, or not. My husband, Earl, it was going to be about 2 years before he could retire. So I thought, well, why? You know, in Harrisburg, I could take a high-speed train to New York like I did when I was a child, and with my late twin sister, and we'd zoom in here, run riot all over Manhattan Island. The two of us at age, 5, 6, unchaperoned. Because our uncle, and before him our grandfather, was the conductor on the Broadway Limited train from Harrisburg to New York. So that's when I first fell in love with New York. So I thought, well, I'll incorporate New York into my leisureness. So the first 2 years, I bought a commuter pass to New York. I'd had commuted to New York for 2 years back in the 1980s. And to work, but I thought, well, I'll commute in here I was a member of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Modern Art, the Guggenheim Museum. I thought, well, I would just come in every other day and divide my time between our wonderful hometown, 75 minutes that way. Somehow this morning it only took me 70 minutes to drive in here. So, in the speed limit. Or close enough to it. So I thought, well, I'll come here every other day, and I did. And then Earl was going to retire in 2012, and I thought, oh no, we have a huge home, but no house is big enough for the two of us independent thinking people. Both retired, it will be a disaster. So I rented a space downtown Easton where I could walk to, or so I thought I could, And I opened the Hare salon, which ended up lasting just that year, 2012, because I found that I couldn't get there very much, what with some medical situations that I am still managing. So I did that for 2012. Then I got into photography, and I published privately on, what was the name of that site before they went out of business and became too ridiculously expensive to even bother. $55,000 in my photographs. I had a wonderful Nikon camera, which just died maybe 6 months ago, I guess, and I was in this city here and photo shooting, and I would come in to photo shoot, and all of a sudden it just died. The computer in the lens and blah, 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 and the lens cap holder broke and blah, blah, blah. So I couldn't get it repaired. Nobody could repair it. And I thought, well, just around that time, I guess it was Flickr, became bought out by some huge conglomerate, and you couldn't keep your storage there unless with 55,000 high-resolution raw files. So they went into the great beyond, into the ether. Well, and the camera died, and I couldn't get it repaired because nobody could fix it. I tried everything. I thought, well, you know what? Now with telephone cameras, or I should call them phone cameras, my Samsung Galaxy, the dots per inch are about half what that Nikon was, and it was certainly good enough in the great photo editing software. And my iMac is ready to die, so I thought, well, why don't I just go wireless, digital, not wired. So I did that, and that's what I'm doing now, is using this camera until it dies. One of them already did. I had 2 of them. I dropped it so many times. The lens smashed. But the newest Galaxy Samsung 9, the dots per inch aren't as high as this one, so I'd rather keep this as my camera. Nevertheless, even though it reveals every age spot, okay, that's okay. I have to accept the realities. I'm a rationalist, not a denialist, not a pretendist. I don't speculate about what's even happening in 10 minutes, let alone tomorrow. So I've really enjoyed that. So I got into photography, and then I got into gratitude alphabets. I became the white spectacled harbinger of gratitude, and did dozens of videos on YouTube about gratitude alphabets and so on. And then I got into all sorts of other hobbies. I made a list of about 15 things I wanted to do that I never had the time to devote to it, and I've been doing all of that. I was a patron, and still am a patron of the fine arts, but I'm also a patron now of the medical arts, and it's kept me alive for the last 13 years. They buried me 13 years ago. Well, 8 years ago. They said you have 5 years to live, and because of being a vegan, I think, and doing all the regimens and the chemo and everything. And tomorrow I have another CT scan. Hopefully it will turn out okay. Well, not okay, but I mean not too daunting. Because I was diagnosed 13 years ago with advanced, inoperable, irradiatable cancer. And they said, put your affairs in order. You might have 5 years if you're lucky. It's been 13. So I'm doing okay. I'm still standing here, are I not? I'm above ground. But in the meantime, Earl and I my husband, were very prominently active in fighting for the freedom to marry, which we finally won in 2015, July 21st at midnight, not that I'm counting. The permanent freedom to marry for our marriage in Canada to be recognized everywhere USA and every American territory. And that's been since 2015. What's this, 2019? So in July it'll be 4 years, and it was allegedly permanent. Well, with this new Supreme Court and everything else, we'll see what we get to keep. But I can even accept being divorced by our government again, and legal strangers again. We were legal strangers, Earl and I, even though we felt we were married from day one, 1976. We were legal strangers for 39 of our 43 years together this September. So we got used to being legal strangers, but you have to take steps if we are to become legal strangers again, and we would do that legally. I mean, we would have to not own real estate, we would have to all kinds of things to protect the survivor, and try anything. But the fact is, once you get to be this age, and you're staring oblivion in the face... Oh, did I mention, our church was here, but now we've become free-thinking, secular, non-theists. I won't say anti-theist, and yet there's no proof. So until there's proof, which the whole human race should live that long. It's only been thousands of years. Until there's scientific proof that this is all we get, not all we get, I consider I'm living sandwiched between oblivion. So I was obliviated before I showed up. It didn't bother me at all to be obliviated back then. And once I showed up, the world got very complicated for a young queer person, let me tell you, in this country. And so to be obliviated again, even with the one civil right of the freedom to marry, I guess it could at least be relaxing. Because we got fierce, and we fought, and we won, and we made so many enemies. But I digress. I think I got into that in another video, maybe not. But we made so many enemies, even in our own rainbow tribe, because so many are still closeted and damaged, and they didn't have the benefit of the great mental health care Earl and I had bought for many decades to survive and thrive on this planet. Heterosex-Supremacy, I call it, supremacy. Not all heterosexuals are supremacists. And besides, heterosexuals can't help it. They were born that way, as Earl and I were born the way we were, and so we don't judge. But it was a tough haul for 39 of our 43 years together to finally win the freedom to marry, so we could stay in our home and the survivor not be bankrupted by crushing Pennsylvania inheritance taxes and everything else. Changed our deeds. Our wonderful lawyer changed our deeds for us. I'd give his name, except he did it pro bono, which was just so wonderful. He knows who he is. But I don't want everyone storming his gates to do anything pro bono. He earned his time to pro bono. I mean, to change the wording on our deeds. And so now we're set. But I digress, don't I? So what were the hobbies and the passions I wanted to pursue? Certainly New York City. It's our favorite day-tripping vacation island off the west coast of Europe. Merely 75 minutes from our chosen hometown, Easton, and we love it. I drove in this morning. The deal is Earl drives home, I drive in, because after 3 p.m., I don't care where I am. I need a nap. The chemo has tons of side effects that I've been enduring for 13 years, and it's every day, and but I don't complain. I don't whine. I'm grateful that I'm standing here in Manhattan on the Christopher Street Pier in our old neighborhood in the 1970s to even celebrate this 10th year of my becoming a gentleman of leisure. I think I mentioned I was so obsessed with my career, and even weekends were torture. So I worked usually around the clock 7 days a week if I felt like it, while I had a job. And then with the economy, the equity wave with architecture, you got to go where it's busy, and I did. I'm glad I did. And now I'm enjoying the rewards of all that. What else have I been doing? I consider this device I'm recording on my university for a PhD in Albert Ellis, REBT, Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy, secularism, the lectures and by Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins, and all these wonderful This is accessed 24/7, 365, and now we have unlimited data, so look out. I'll be posting even more. Anyone who gets annoyed at my posting, please remember my frequent postings. There is no shortage of electrons in the universe. So we're not going to run out. It's not like we're running out of oil or shale or fracking or what else, fossil fuels, which are way past peak and causing the next World War III, no doubt. Electrons are infinite. So don't worry. And all you have to do, if it's getting to be too annoying, please unfollow me. I don't have a newsfeed. I don't follow anyone on Facebook because I don't want my newsfeed clogged, and I can come visit you and snoop and find out what you're up to. But you, please don't take it personally because I unfollow everyone. And I recommend that so that I don't get annoyed. I have some very good friends who post even more than I do. I'm not going to tell them about it. I'm not going to complain or whine about it. All I have to do is unfollow everyone, and I don't have to be bothered. I learned early in life, rather than sit around and whine about being created queer on this planet, heterosex-supremacy, I need to just focus on my own happiness, my own life, and fight like hell to get my civil freedoms and equality and civil rights. I am an American citizen after all, but I never would waste a minute bothering with the bullies, the blackmailers, the this, that, which there were plenty, and the bashers. I've been gay bashed violently sometimes, and I don't focus on them if I can put some distance. And it's shocking sometimes. The source of that bullying is very close to home. But do I let that stop me from living my own great queer life? No. And I recommend that for anyone, but you got to make yourself safe. You got to change zip codes. You got to get the hell away from these bullies. The sooner the better. You got to believe what they're saying. They really, really mean you harm and hate and everything else. So that's an important lesson to learn. So so that's one of the reasons Earl and I were so fierce about fighting for the freedom for not just us to marry everywhere USA, but young children to see that, hey, we gay people can have a great life. I don't even like the word gay. What's so gay about being bashed and blackmailed? But I call it non-heterosexual because the whole world supposes that everyone's born heterosexual unless proven otherwise, I guess. But flaunt. So I flaunt it 1/10 as much. I try for 100% as much as heterosexuals do, but I'll never get there. But I keep trying. Let me know if I go to 110% more than most heterosexuals flaunt their lifestyle. But it's fun. I have fun with it. If I can't have fun with the oppression lobbied against me, I'm doing it wrongly. Life is to be enjoyed. Albert Ellis, the noted psychotherapist, said, life is just a temporary cheating of eternal oblivion. Now, he was also a secular, but he was the most published psychotherapist in the world. It's amazing. And his institute, he's dead now, but his institute's here in New York. And it's a great philosophy. It's very easy to follow. And I wish I had discovered it hundreds of thousands of dollars or more, somebody's money, before I spent all that on traditional psychotherapy. But he is just fantastic. E-L-L-I-S, Albert Ellis. It'll help get over the anxiety that we cause ourselves instead of focusing on our own happiness, our own joy, and stop focusing on the problems of other people. Does that sound political? Tonight's the 9 p.m. Hijacking of all the news and TV networks. Thank God we don't have TV for 38 years. But even Rachel will be preempted, I guess, by this command performance tonight at 9 p.m. of lies by our merely selected loser, I should say, who was rejected by almost 3/4 of American eligible voters and lost the popular vote. That's all I'm going to say about it. Well, I'm having fun here, and I'm glad to celebrate these 10 years. And in the end, I didn't have to worry. I can make a long list. Maybe I'll do a separate video of some of these details of what I've been up to. Most of which are private. I don't have a need to people please anymore. I don't have clients to worry about. Do they like it or not like it? Or are they going to fire me? I don't have bosses. It's wonderful. That's why I call myself a gentleman of leisure. And then the question is, what do I want? That is the hardest question to answer when any American who's obsessive and so obsessed with their careers and workaholic and everything else. How do I simply substitute all that obsession with an obsession about enjoying my own leisureness, my own leisuretude? This is how. And I hope the same for you. All you have to do is work in a maybe 50-year career and give up every person, place, or thing to go where it's busy enough that you can be gainfully employed. And then you can and suffer through decades of licensing and undergraduate school and graduate school. And maybe you too can be standing here on a Tuesday afternoon in Manhattan, my favorite island, and I'm looking at the Statue of Liberty right now. I'm looking at the new World Trade Center, which isn't so new. It's 17 years old already. I mean, since it's the old one. And Manhattan, the rail yards, I heard, is the largest real estate development construction project in the history of the world. It's possible. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little thing sticking out of that tallest tower, taller than the Empire State Building, that it's going to be an observation deck. I can't wait. I should live so long to go up there and look down on the Empire State Building without having to get on a plane. These are unscripted, unedited videos, can you tell? But try getting on a plane now with the government shut down for the last 18 days, thanks to some temper tantrum in the White House. Oh, now here I go again. But the T-Rump, I call him, the small t, T-Rump, capital R, when he doesn't get what he wants, such as the House of Representatives since November, almost the same day, shut the government down. Isn't that a coincidence? Well, you know, America's strong. We're rich. We have survived worse than this traitor. I'll call him what he is, a traitor. And hopefully he'll end up in a nice orange jumpsuit, which will match his nice orange hair, or whatever coloration he is. I don't want to color shame orange, because I like that color. But, oh my. And then this immigration thing with the wall. It's all about the wall. Well, if he's so against immigrants, why did he marry so many? But I digress. See, I'm so easily distracted. But here I am talking about my little 10-year gentleman of leisure status, and there is a status to it. And now I realize, talking to myself here on this video, I really didn't have to worry that much about how am I going to adjust. However, it did take me all this time to adjust to and the weird thing is, I'm probably making as much or more money than I did when I was working. When you deduct the cost of commuting, we were putting 90,000 miles a year on our cars for how many decades to get to our different careers, and we were both career freaks, Earl and I, and I'm glad we were, because now we're enjoying. He's also loving his retirement. It took him about 2 seconds to adjust. He's loving it. Earl accordionist. He substituted all that obsession with his career, picked up an accordion, walked downtown, started playing it around the square, and now look, it's fantastic. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. I'm not sure how long this is. It doesn't give the amount of time